Good morning to everyone at today's public hearing of the Prosecutor Vetting Commission. I'm Christopher Lehman, chairperson of the commission, and I declare this session to be open. Our commission was established under Law 252 on the external evaluation of judges and prosecutors. Article 22, paragraph 13 of that law provides that this commission will assess candidates for the Superior Council of Prosecutors Selection and Evaluation Board according to the procedure and criteria regulated by Law 26 of 2022 on measures related to the selection of candidates for the position of members in the self-administration bodies of the prosecutors. The hearing is being conducted under the Commission's Rules of Procedures for Evaluations under Law 26. The subject of today's hearing is Aliona Chisari-Rurak, a candidate for the Selection and Evaluation Board. Ms. Chisari-Rurak, welcome to this proceeding. I'm joined by my colleagues. I'll start from the far right. Nadezhda Hryptievsky, Irmantis Mikalonis, Tatiana Radicano, Saskia DeVries, and on my far left, Cornel Lebedinsky. The commission is also assisted by members of its secretariat. The hearing is open to the public and members of the media. The hearing will be conducted with interpretation into Romanian and English. To allow for accurate interpretation, please speak slowly and clearly. The proceedings are being recorded. The recordings of the Commission's public hearing will be available online on the Commission's website, www.vettingmd.org, within 3 days after the hearing. During the hearing, one or more members of the Commission will be asking questions to you. Please answer them truthfully and completely. Your explanations are important to the Commission in verifying your financial and ethical integrity. In formulating our questions, we will take into account your privacy and, where required and possible, the privacy of family members and close persons. So we will leave out any unnecessary details relating to ID numbers, bank account numbers, specific addresses of real estate, and the like. For the protection of your privacy, we would ask you also to do the same. At the end of the hearing, you'll be given an opportunity to make a brief closing statement. I will start by reviewing the evaluation processes for candidate Chisari-Rurak. The Commission initiated its evaluation on December 22nd, 2023, by notifying the candidate by email and asking her to complete and return an ethics questionnaire and a financial declaration form. The candidate returned the completed questionnaire and declarations on 29 December 2023. As part of the evaluation of the candidate's ethical and financial integrity, the Commission also obtained information from many other sources, such as the National Integrity Authority, the State Fiscal Service, the General Inspectorate of the Border Police, public institutions, financial institutions, and open source materials. The Commission assesses its information that it obtains from these sources for relevance and credibility and reliability. The Commission sent you 3 rounds of questions on 16 February 2024, 29 February 2024, and 11 March of 2024, to which you responded. On March 21st, the Commission invited the candidate to attend today's hearings. At that time, we notified that Ms. Chisari-Rurak of the specific topics to be addressed today at this hearing. Ms. Chisari-Rurak, again, thank you for appearing today. I'll begin with a few questions for you. We ask you to respond in a complete and truthful manner to all the questions that are asked today. Firstly, I'd like to ask if you wish to make any additions or corrections to the answers that you have provided to the Commission in our request for information.
No, I have nothing to add. Thank you.
And are your answers that were provided by you in the 5-year declaration and in the ethics questionnaire that you returned on 29 December 2023, are those answers still accurate as of today?
Yes, they are.
I will ask my colleague to my left, Cornel Lebedinsky, to begin with the questions for you.
Thank you.
Bună ziua, doamna doctor Aliona Chisari-Rurak.
Morning, I'm Dr. Aliona Chisari-Rurak. I am Cornel Lebedinsky, Commission member. I will start with 2 blocks of questions that were shared with you. During the questions and brief explanation of the factual situation, your data will be replaced with the phrase candidate. When it comes to your sister, we will use the phrase candidate sister, and in the same way, candidate's mother, father. If you agree with this formulation, okay. Yes, I do, thank you. The first block of questions is related to the filing of Declaration of Assets and Personal Interests according to Law 133 of 2016. And the first question is related to the fact that when you resigned from the position of an assistant in an MP's office in 2017, you did not submit a Declaration of Assets and Personal Interests to NIA, the National Integrity Authority. Do you confirm that? And please tell us what the reasons were. Thank you for your question. I confirm that. I also confirmed that in my answers. I said that I admit this technical mistake, if I can call it like that. These were my first activities that required the filing of such a declaration, especially since at that time NIA did not have an electronic database that we could easily access, and that the government actually, while I was an advisor in the Office of Deputy Prime Minister for Social Affairs, we were being invited and informed about filing of a declaration. Of course, that does not exempt me because the law is the law, and the law provided for the required to file the declarations, but at the time when I resigned from the parliament, I did not file the declaration, and I checked it now when I was appointed, and after 2 months I did not file it, and I admit that mistake. Thank you. The second question is the late submission of Declaration of Assets and Personal Interests for 2021. You first filed it on 1st September 2023 and then corrected it on 21st September. So same question, do you confirm that, and what were the reasons? I do confirm that situation was that I was appointed to the Prosecutor Selection and Career Board in November, and I completed my work in the other board because I had 2 mandates, and filed the declaration for 2020 and 2021 until November. And then the final declaration that included December, I did not file. And the next question is failure to file the declaration timely for year 2022. You filed it similarly to the first one on the 1st of September. So please do confirm. I confirm. I admit those things, but These are violations, but they don't make me feel as lacking integrity in this case. These are some things that I omitted. I missed because of the many activities that I have, 3 kids at home, university projects, as it usually happens in Moldova in order to be able to bring up 3 children. So I admit to those things. These were some delays, but they did not influence my integrity because the declaration to the tax authority are precise, like to the cent. And in 25 years of activity, I think my students are my best judges. Thank you. So I admit to these mistakes. The next question is about declarations for 2019 until 2022, where you declared the value of the apartment where you currently live as being purchased for 35,000 euros, but the sale purchase contract states the amount of 43,000 euros. Could you please explain that? I provided that answer in the second round of questions, I think. We sold the land plot for 35,000 and we purchased the apartment after 8 days for 43,000 euros, and it was an emission. So I mentioned the above. I think that's the price of a land plot also, but at least the contract provides for 43,000 euros the apartment. I confirm right now this thing. This was a technical mistake indeed. Thank you. The next question relates to your declarations of 2013 to 2018 and 2019 to 2022. And namely, its failure to declare possession and use of the apartments where you live together with your family, because the owner was your mother, but you never declared any form of possession of those apartment. You know, we discussed a lot with my colleagues from the department. This was bailment, free of charge. We have an approach that we believe is correct. These are my relatives, my parents. We never had a written contract. Therefore, I did not declare this form of possession because we have a provision in the civil code, and our civil lawyers state that it can be bailment free of charge, but it is impossible to prove in case of litigation. So we did not have a written contract. That's why I did not declare this form of possession. Thank you for your answer. Next question is about failure to declare land plot owned by your husband in Ukraine in the declarations for 2021 and 2022. How do you explain that? That was declared in 2019 when I was in the government. So this declaration in the system from the beginning was complicated to me. Now I do it easily, but at the beginning I was doing that with the help of professionals from NIA. So this was a technical omission. It is a share in a farming land plot that my husband has in his own name in Stalinich village, Novoselitsa and Chernivtsi region. He still owns that farming land plot. He owns it, but my parents-in-law are taking care of it in Chernovtsi. Thank you for your answer. And the last question in this block, that is, in your 2017 declaration, you failed to declare $3,000 transfer from your father. Yes, my father was in the Russian Federation working some occasional work. My parents are simple people. My mother has been a teacher for some time until the school in our village closed. My father was working, so I gave this money to my mother. So this wasn't money for us, it wasn't our money. I attached to the file the declaration. My father declared that he transferred me the money and I gave the money to my mother at home. A clarification. We ask, why didn't you declare it? We don't doubt the transfer, but it wasn't my money. It wasn't my money. I did not use it. It wasn't my money, and they did not need to be declared. Thank you for your answers. Thank you for your questions. Let's move to the second block. It relates to the doubts of the Commission about the actual purpose of donating your apartment to your mother. That's the apartment on Matei Basarab Street, and the connection to receiving the land plot according to the program and selection held by the State University together with Chisinau City Hall. That's why we divided it into several sub-questions to make it clear for you and for the Commission members. On June 13th, 2013, by means of a sale-purchase agreement, the candidate, you, obtained ownership of an apartment in Chisinau Municipality, Matei Basarab Street. Do you confirm that? Yes, I confirm. 13th of June, 2013, yes. Could you please explain to the Commission what were the sources of income for the purchase of the apartment? Things started in 2000 when I graduated university. And I started to work at the university. My parents bought from their money. I was not married and I didn't have a penny. I was working for the Department of Civil Procedural Law with Mr. Kojokar. So I started my work from there. So in March, my father purchased a small apartment on Moscovy Street where I was living with my sister. And my sister was the first-year freshman in the university. It was the apartment belonging to my parents, bought from their resources, not my money. In the end, it was meant for the entire family because my father was coming here to the market. My sister was here. I was working the first year at the university at that time. Later on, well, I lived for a long time with my sister. I don't know if that was a mistake or not, but we were naive and we said, oh, let it be registered on Aliona's name. I was living in Chisinau and it was registered in my name, but the money wasn't mine. So when it was sold, on Matei Basarab, it was my parents who had the money. I don't even know how much they needed to add. We moved to Matei Basarab, and my mother was living with us because in the meanwhile we had 3 children. And to explain a bit more tense details of my family, I would like to ask Commission to have a closed session. I don't want the entire country to hear me. If you want details to be provided, that was a bit situation of tension in my family. So I decided that I transfer back to my mother the apartment on Matei Basarab.
Interrupt you because the hearing is open and it's being recorded. So I can't just close it. We would need to go into a session to do that. So what I would suggest is if you can speak in a way that would protect your personal and family details, why don't we proceed in a way that you protect your privacy in your answers.
Thank you. So being in front of distinguished commission, I will be fully sincere. This was an apartment purchased by my apartments for both of us, for me and my sister. So at a more complicated moment, being married, and my husband came from Ukraine, the way he came, my sister in her family with her difficulties, the apartment was meant for the both of us and for the parents. And I decided at that time to donate it to my mother. It's yours, let it be written in your name, we'll start from scratch, and we will see what we would do next. But that was a situation in the moment, but we stayed in the apartment because we had 3 children by that time. This is the most sincere thing. This was happening in September. I did not even know what was happening in the university because things became clear at the university in November because they were talking about maybe a mortgage where the dorms of the university were. The mortgage thing did not happen, but the topic with the land plots happened later. My husband and I were thinking about finding a way to make sure that we got a dwelling of our own, but these things were not connected. Thank you, and we are sorry that we have to touch some sensitive matters of your family. The next question. On September 9, 2013, by means of a donation contract, you donated the apartment we're discussing to your mother. And in the communication with us, you claimed that this was because of some tension in your family, and you have just said that to the Commission as well. Therefore, we have some questions. First of all, do you confirm the donation? Yes, I do. It was 16th of March. No, it was 9th of September 2014. Yes. Secondly, after the donation, did the tension in your family disappear? Well, we continued to live there. We lived with my mom. My mom was with us because I think by the time I was working in the government, my mother was staying with my little child, and I had to support the entire family at that time. So I was working as only women in Moldova can work. Thank you. And a clarification question. So that means that the tension was on, well, taking into account that you continued to live in the same apartment, it means nothing changed for your family. Only the owner of the apartment changed. So the tension was related to the fact that it was you who owned officially the apartment? No, actually, the apartment was both for us and my sister, maybe after the death of our parents. Happily, my parents are still alive. Thank you. You answered the question. So you continued to live in that apartment after the donation until the 1st of September 2018, when that apartment was sold. Under the sale purchase contract of that apartment and the subsequent purchase of the apartment on Yazului Street, you represented the interests of your mother by power of attorney. Do you confirm that? Yes, I confirm that. I also confirmed that previously. Second question. Did you live on Yazului Street also after it was brought? Yes, I had official residence there. I would like to provide an explanation here, if I may. In November, we had that opportunity with the trade unions. On the 24th of November, a decision from the Senate of the university. So I had to meet the requirements to have 3 children and the need to improve living conditions. But for you to understand the procedure in the city hall within Chisinau Municipal Council, started in 2014 until 2019. It took 5 years, meaning initially I had a land plot distributed somewhere in the middle of the woods because another plan of a municipality was used. So for me, this was 5 years of struggle before I obtained the land plot. That land plot was not given to us in 2 or 3 months, as the university maybe was thinking, or other. There have been repealed decisions. My activity, I was bringing evidence again and again until the municipal council made changes to that land plot. They found another cadastral technical plan. So that's all on file, but it started with mistakes. internally. It was difficult. It was a 5-year period, but I did not give up. I knew I deserved that. I had an impeccable activity at the university. I had 3 children. Therefore, the land plot was given to us in 2019, but we had nothing else. We continued to live there in the meanwhile with parents.
Da, vă mulțumesc de acest
Thank
răspuns.
you for your answer.
Revenim înapoi la
Let's go back
de
to
donații
the donation
a
contract
apartamentului de
of the
strada
apartment
Matei
on Matei Basarab Street.
și în acest contract de donație.
In the
mama
donation
dumneavoastră a fost
contract,
reprezentată
your
de
mother was represented by your
Sorry,
sister, Oksana. Sorry, by my sister, yes.
În calitate de reprezentant a mamei
As a representative of your mother,
la 2 octombrie 2014,
your sister on October 2nd, 2014, submitted an application to register the ownership of apartment
la organul cadastral
with a
și
cadastral body,
ulterior, în 7
and in 7 days,
acest document.
she received that document.
Întrebare, dacă
A question,
confirmați
do
și
you
când ați aflat
confirm
că
and
acest
when
fapt
did
că
you
sora
find
de
about
înregistrat
the fact that your sister
dreptul de proprietate
had registered mother's ownership over that apartment?
Eu am să fiu foarte directă. Noi
I'll
în
be
familie nu ne
very
scoatem
blunt.
ochii, adică noi
We
știam ceea ce se
don't
întâmplă.
fight each other in our
Decizia mea
family. We
corectă
knew
a
what was
fost
happening.
că
My
părinții
correct
mei
decision
au
was
muncit
that
o viață
my
și
parents
asta au
worked
reușit
for
să
a
facă.
lifetime.
Să procure
This is what they managed to do,
apartamentul
to
ăsta la
purchase that
Moscovici și
apartment
pe
on
urmă
Moscovite
să
Street
adaug
and then to
să
add some money
procure pe ăsta de la Matei
and
Basarab.
purchase the apartment on Matei Basarab, apartment that was meant both for me and Oksana. So we were not fighting over that. I knew that I donated and my sister represents, goes there, registers ownership. These are the most sincere explanations that I can
Mulțumim
give.
pentru sinceritatea dumneavoastră.
We are grateful for your sincerity.
Următoarea întrebare constă în faptul. La 7
Next
octombrie
question.
2014,
On October 7th, 2014, you filed an application to obtain an abstract regarding of lack of real estate with to get it in 1 day, which means an expedited term. Do you confirm that, and why did you need an expedited receipt of that abstract? You now said the date. I was not, I didn't pay attention to that. Then it means that in October, there were rumors about or discussions at the university, and I think that I prepared very quickly that certificate and certificate about family composition and nothing else. So I needed to have all the documentation, and I confirm that. Thank you. One more clarification question. Could you please communicate the Commission? Which way and when did you find out that the State University was planning such a competition to distribute land plots? Well, if you say 7th of October, it means then. It's then when I found out, in early October. Well, that was the date when you filed a request to get that certificate. Was that the day when you found out about the process? No, I can't say when exactly I found out about it, but given that I requested a 1-day issuance of certificate, that makes sense. It was around that day. One more question. Where did you find about that? I mean, did you make a request to the university? Did someone contact you and tell you about it? I mean, how did you find out about that process? It was trade union. The union communicated about that. They told me. Thank you. I asked previously about that, and at that point they probably told me. And about the conditions, or the criteria needed to take part. Was it trade unions? Yes, it was a trade union of a university that informed. There were 2 criteria: 3 children and need for improving living conditions, from what I remember, because this is what I submitted in my application file. Thank you. On November 20th, 2014, the Committee of the State University of Moldova had a meeting and approved your candidacy to be granted a land plot in the residential sector with social cultural purpose on Bukovini, Bukovinei Orhelui part. Do you confirm that? And secondly, besides you, for the same land plot, was anyone else in competition? Were there any other candidates who are meeting the same criteria? I don't know. I know that 3 land plots were distributed at that time. There was a lady from mathematics, one lady from the education department, and myself, 3 land plots, but I don't know any other details. I'm sorry, but who did select the candidates? Can you tell us that? There was a commission within the university who handled the selection. They conducted the selection. One more question. When you filed your application file to that commission selecting candidates, did you know by that time about the 3 criteria to obtain the land plot? And that is 3 children or more, large family, about having worked for more than 15 years at the state university, and thirdly, not to have your dwelling at that time.
Given that it's on October 3 that I've requested from the cadastre for that, except for that documentation, it means I filed the file after that in October. On the 20th of October, there was going to be a meeting of the committee, of the trade union committee, so I guess it's then in October. Understood. Thank you for your answer. Well, since there was a fast-track procedure for obtaining the certificate, well, I can't remember the details around that. I can't remember. I didn't know. I was not aware of that certificate. I've only seen it last night when I picked up the documentation from the commission. I looked thoroughly through that documentation. Maybe you can reword it or answer still in that same way to the question, but is it correct to say that one of the reasons why you had a donation contract for the apartment of Matei Masarap Street, donating it to your mother, is one of the reasons that you needed to meet the criteria for this competition? No. Can you provide further details? In September, I was not aware of the competition yet. I reiterated. Thank you for this answer. When you filed your application and when a decision was made by the state university to grant that land plot at a normative price for your family, did you have at that time the intention to build a house? We've been giving it thought until the last minute. In the decision, it said that it was for the construction of a house, but that doesn't mean that I don't have the right to sell it and then to buy an apartment 8 days later. Most of those at the university did it like this, but it was our intention till the very last moment to build a house. However, I had severe health issues. I've been discharged from the hospital 2 days ago, and it's about my health condition. So those health issues appeared back then as well, and we realized we wouldn't be able to cover the expenses for building a house, so we decided to rather sell that land plot and have enough money to buy an apartment and to feel certain that we have a place that is ours. Thank you for your answer, but I have another question here. Now, about your family. Did your family, at the time you participated in that competition for that land plot, did your family have funds to build a house? And if yes, more or less, how much were you counting on in terms of financial resources? We sold the land for 35,000, we bought the apartment for 43,000, so those were what we had had saved on the basis of my salary over the years. We didn't have money more than that. Well, we will get later to the apartment that you purchased after the land plot was sold. We're speaking about 2014, when you filed your application, when you applied for participating in the competition at the State University. At that time, were you planning to build a house on the land plot that you would be eventually granted? And at that time, did you have some money, or did you at least estimate how much your family would need to build a house? Honestly, we weren't in a position to have estimated budget. Sometimes my husband wouldn't even have a job, and then we would have children one after another. They were infants, and we had other priorities at that time. So we've been taking a lot of loans, and we were looking at where the rates were better for Victoria Bank or for other bank, MAIB, for instance. So we'd take a loan from here, a loan from there. So it was a hard time, financially speaking, for us. But I don't feel bad about it, because, as I said, my best judges are my students, who have been able to see who I was for 25 years, having shown that I had integrity at the faculty. So we didn't have a lot of money. I cannot state now how much money we had at that time when I applied. Thank you for your answer. We do not doubt your professional capacity in terms of the teaching part of your work. But now, going back to the topic, 2019, the 4th of July, decision 3/3 of the Chisinau Municipal Council. By the decision, you were assigned that land plot that we are talking about, and what we'd like to know is if in 2019, when the decision was granted, when you've obtained the decision, at that time, did you still have the decision to build a house, or have you already decided that at the time that you would sell it to buy an apartment? Well, we had some money. I think we added about 8,000 euros is what we had to add to be able to buy the apartment. So we wanted to have a detached house like that, and we didn't manage to have one, so we sold the land plot and bought an apartment, and now we ran away to the suburbs in an old house, and it's like cottage. It's best to go there for that purposes. But now, in addition to the registration of the ownership rights for the land plot that was distributed by the Chisinau Municipal Council, did you take other measures in order to initiate the building? For instance, looking for a layout for a house, or did you consider writing some applications with the gas suppliers or electricity suppliers? We did not file any applications in that regard. So the intention after the registration was to sell it. You know, this land plot, at the end of the day, I wasn't aware, I didn't know what plot exactly would be given. Initially, it was supposed to be somewhere in the forest, and then the city hall found another one, but that land plot is practically in a more remote area, and there was high-tension wires behind it at the back of that land plot. So although we were thinking of building a house, it was not particularly appropriate for a house. I mean, no other houses are coming after that that looks like the end of the built-up area, so to speak. And so there were these issues that we had in mind. Maybe my husband remembers better the details of that. On the 20th of November 2019, 3 months and 16 days after the decision of the Chisinau Municipal Council was delivered, you entered into a sale and purchase agreement whereby you sold the land plot that was granted to you for 35,000 euros. You paid all the taxes, and as per your declaration, you used this money to pay for an apartment in Chișinău. Is that correct? It is correct. It is apartment in which we live to this day. Well, I will not say the address now specifically. Taking into account all of the questions that were raised until now and all these sub-questions that were also raised, another question would it be right to state that, as a conclusion, that in the entire process, starting with the donation of the apartment to your mother and all the way to the sale of the land plot, the purpose was ultimately to have a gain out of it, to be able to purchase the apartment? Our purpose was to attempt at solving the housing issue. And it didn't start with the donation. It all started when at the university the information became known that we could participate in that. And we needed either a house or an apartment. We needed something. Well, when at the university did that information appear? When was it communicated about the possibility of having an apartment or house? I mean, you mentioned earlier about potential mortgage. Well, I don't know how things have been happening. I think then it was the colleagues who were talking about it. They were saying there might be some mortgage possibility. I did not learn about any further details about it. The details that I had were with regards to the fact that potentially, there are chances that you might meet the criteria for being granting a land plot. So the three criteria is just the donation to my mother, I would leave that out. The entire process was around the need to improve housing conditions for ourselves and for our 3 minor children. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for the detailed answers you provided to the questions. Thank you too. But I would also like to ask you if you looked up the provisions of the law number 26, under which your evaluation is conducted, and specifically when it comes to your rights in this process and the criteria against which the candidates are evaluated as per law 26. Yes, certainly. Thank you. These were all the questions that I had.
Thank you, Mr. Lebedinsky. Let me ask if any of the other members of the commission at this point would like to ask any questions.
Greetings, Madam Rurak. My question is, if you hadn't donated that apartment to your mother, would you have met those criteria? Would you have met the criteria that served as a basis for deciding who should get a land plot for improving living conditions? So there were those criteria. I think that the university did not say lack of property. I think it was need to improve living conditions. And that apartment on Matei Basarab Street, that apartment was a very small one. We were 5 family members, and there is a particular footage that is supposed to be appropriated to a one per family number, but it was very small for us. There were 2 rooms, and how many people? 5, and my mother who was taking care of the children. So 6 people. And how many square meters were there? 52 square meters, I think, but now the one on which we live now is 70. So you mean either way you needed improved living conditions? Yes, so that donation to my mother has nothing to do whatsoever with the university, because we needed improved living conditions anyway. Fine, thank you. Thank you for your question. So I think it was 52 square meters.
Any further questions? Yes, Sir Montes.
My questions is related to obtaining land plot in Chișinău. So how you evaluate now your behavior regarding obtaining land plot in Chișinău from the ethical perspective?
I believe that I have observed observed all ethical criteria. I think I did not commit any violation. I was a mother of 3, and I met all the criteria to be granted that land plot. It is only that we had to have enough strength for 5 years to keep going to the city hall, to take documentation to them, to show that you had the right to that and to fight for that right. I knew that there was no other possibility for us. That was the only thing that we could do. We didn't have highly paid positions. I don't have a husband that would have a big income. I don't receive a big income. So I think I met all the ethical criteria, perhaps even insisting in certain regards to obtain that land plot because that was our right.
Thank you for your answer.
Mulțumesc.
Thank you for the question. I was delighted to answer it.
I think that concludes the questioning. Ms. Chisari-Rurak, I give you the opportunity to make a closing statement if you'd like to for the commission at this time.
Honorable members of the Commission, I would like to thank you very much for the work that you did. For the 21st century, maybe my statement will be somewhat naive, but you need to know that as long as you set as a priority the moral criteria, and as long as you take into account what God thinks about you, not what people think about you, then with that in mind, it's easy to live and to manage to stay afloat in a society where things don't always work the way they should. So every step of the way in my life, I always think, God, what would you say about me? We are Christian Orthodox, aren't we? And this is what matters to me, regardless of the evaluation, of the way you evaluate me, distinguished members of the Commission, regardless of how other things go. I care about my integrity, I care about my name, and this is what matters to me the most when I put my head on the pillow at night. It is important for me to know that I have integrity and I'm at ease with myself. Thank you.
We thank you for your participation in this evaluation process and at the hearing today. The Commission will deliberate on this matter and will issue a decision as soon as possible. Again, thank you for your participation, and I will close the hearing at this point.